Welcome to the Intuitive Therapist Podcast with Janis R. Cohen, therapist, clairvoyant, empath, and medium. Listen in as she takes a no-nonsense deep dive into real human struggles and how to resolve them. Janis will share channeled information from her spirit guide team, as well as the angels and archangels, to help you master your emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual destiny. And now, Janis R. Cohen.
Hey y'all, this is Janis Cohen, the Intuitive Therapist here on the Intuitive Therapist Podcast. Now, the past several podcast episodes have been a part of a very special series I'm doing for women in midlife, and today we continue that series by talking about a pivotal decision women must make in midlife, playing by their rules instead of everyone else. Now, this episode is all about breaking free from the old, outdated narratives and boldly stepping into the next chapter of your life. And if you're a woman over 50 who's ready to ditch the outdated scripts society and all the other people have handed you, you're in the right place. So today's episode is all about redefining your story, living authentically, and embracing your power in midlife. These are three huge themes that I help women in midlife with. Now, one of the many things I've learned as a woman stepping fully into midlife is that I've become incredibly comfortable with non-compliance. And what I mean by that is that I look back on my life, as I believe most of us would attest to, we had to follow so many rules. We were all conditioned to believe that things needed to be done the way others told us they should be done. And I'd guess that most of us, most of you, weren't brought up to question rules, to stand up for yourselves, to learn to speak up and speak out, or even to create your own rules. Well, if you're deep into midlife or just on the cusp of it, then I really want you to think about how good of a rule follower you've been. Yay, you get 10 points, and how that's helped you or hindered you along the way. When you think about it, the most progressive growth spurts our country and civilization has ever had has come from those out-of-the-box thinkers who only live from a place of thinking differently, right? Of possibility and of believing in themselves and their ideas so fully that nothing and no one could ever compare, but also compete with them. They were very, very unique-minded individuals. Now, that's the beauty of being different. That's where each of us can shine by living out our differences and advancing the world as a whole. It's no different in midlife, except for the fact that as a woman in midlife, the roles and responsibilities, they can really be hard to let go of. We've attached ourselves so deeply to them because we've fulfilled them for most of our lives. And when you try to buck the system and create your own rules, well, the system you live in, your family, friends, colleagues, they just might not like it. They might not understand it even, or even accept it. But if you're committed to living in your unique dharma, that means that you have a unique purpose here that nobody else can self-express the way you do. Then it's time to talk about breaking free from the old paradigm of what it means to be a woman in midlife and looking to the new, updated version, right? A woman who decides to follow her heart, to try new things, to stop saying she's old. Y'all, please don't say you're old. You know what I've done? I have to tell you this. Spirit's guiding me to share this with you. I'm 55 going up 56, right? That's how the numbers go. But I have always felt like a kid, and I don't ever want to lose that. And I have heard myself over the years say, oh my God, I'm old. I'm an old lady. And I've corrected myself, and I've started to tell myself, it's not about being old, I'm wise. And that helps me feel better. So instead of saying old, you say, I am wise. I want you to move into wholeness about who you are and who you've become. So to me, that's what midlife is about. We midlife women, we get to ditch all of the crappy, condensing, unfit rules about who we should be, and instead we get to create our own in any way we decide. In fact, anybody at any time gets to do that. That's our inherent right. So for me in midlife, it's just a starting point. I've never cared less about what other people think than I do right now, and it feels so amazing. I feel lighter, freer, and more uninhibited than ever before. Is actually remarkable. And the funny thing is, the permission slips that I give myself at this point in my life are like nothing ever before. The ideal for any person is for them to decide to do, be, and have whatever their heart desires without fear or worry of bearing the responsibility of how others might perceive it or judge it. I have let that go, right? So today we're going to cover 3 pivotal questions. They're going to get you thinking deeply about where you are and where you want to go. And we're going to dig into 3 effective strategies that you can use right now to start living your truth. Let's get into it, okay? All right, let's start by talking about this so-called script we've been handed. Society tells us that by 50, we should have it all figured out, right? Stable career, grown kids, a certain level of comfort, maybe even gearing up for retirement. But if you're like many women, like many of the women I talk to, you might feel like you've ticked all those boxes, and yet it's like something's missing. That's because the script we've been following was never really ours to begin with. It's simply been shaped by expectations from others. That's the script. By our families, our partners, our workplaces, society. And here's the kicker. The person you are now, she's evolved. You've gained so much wisdom, but you might still be living by a set of rules that no longer fit you. Kind of like that pair of jeans 2 sizes ago that you keep in the back of your closet, thinking that one day I'll fit into them again. Which brings me to our first pivotal question, or actually a comment to say that the sad thing might be that you might never have thought about midlife as being that. So here's the first question. Whose rules am I living by right now? Take a moment, breathe into this question, ladies. And the choices you're making driven by your true desires or by what others expect from you, like, is that how you're living? Now, reality is that when we want to have shalom bayit, the Hebrew words for peace in the home, we can't always just run wild without a care for how others are impacted by our choices. I get it. That would just be plain selfish and immature. I'm not talking about being that, but I am talking about becoming rebellious enough to change what isn't working in your life and be willing to stand in your certainty as you do it and when you do it. So examining whose rules you're living by is terribly important as you move forward. The voices in your head when you make choices, likely they're not coming from your own inner compass. Sure, some of them do, and hopefully more of them will. But when it comes to deciding what's right or wrong for you to do as you attempt to keep your family system stable, that stuff tends to come from voices of the people outside of you, your parents, your siblings, your friends, your partner, even your children. Look, we can't always escape the expectations that others have for us, but we can surely decide how many of them we will meet and for how long we'll do it. Midlife is about you time, so whose rules are you living by right now? Take a moment and just think about this and notice what reactions your body has to that question, as well as what thoughts come up for you. Now that you've reflected on whose rules you're living by, let's talk about rewriting that script, and let me explain what I mean by that. So midlife isn't about winding down. It's about waking up. You're in a stage where you have more freedom than ever before. The kids are grown, your career may be established, or you may be ready for a new one. And now is your time to embrace change. It's good, it's exciting. But here's the thing about change. It's uncomfortable, and it feels scary too, doesn't it? And that's okay. You're rewriting a narrative that you've lived by for decades and stepping into unknown territory. And you know what? It's natural to feel fear or resistance. What if I told you that discomfort is where your real power lies? So here's the second pivotal question. What am I afraid of losing if I live by my own rules? It's a powerful question, y'all. Fear of loss can often keep us stuck and in the same place. No growth. So whether it's fear of losing relationships, security, or the image you built for yourself, facing this question head on, it's key to moving forward. This is a big, big, big question that can take time to answer. So take the time, okay? Because in truth, and this is what I hear from many women I work with, it's how will my closest relationships change if I do? And how much change can I make that will still be acceptable to others? Pretty deep stuff, huh? Let me give you a strategy for dealing with that, because I'm all about the questions and I'm all about the strategies as I'm waving my finger here. Okay, first strategy, get crystal clear on what you want. We talked about that in the last podcast episode. You can't live authentically if you don't know what that looks like for you. That's like trying to find your keys in the dark. It'd be pretty impossible. Or it's like trying to use your GPS system when you don't have an address to enter about where you're going, your destination. You can't know where you're going if you don't know what you want. You can't go to Home Depot and shop for groceries, y'all. They don't carry those things. So take time to get really clear on what you want. And that means reflecting on what really lights you up, what brings you joy, and what aligns with your values now. Not the values you had at 20 or 30 or 40, but who you are today. What are your current values? What do you value now? Well, as I've entered midlife, I don't value safety as much as I did when I was younger. I still kind of, because I am a Taurus, I kind of want to know what to expect, but I'm not so tied to feeling safe anymore. I want to experience new things. I want to stay a kid. I want to have more fun. I want to do things that are more provocative and that cause me to expand. And I kind of challenge myself that way. Growth is a top value of mine, and so is fun, freedom, and family. I didn't realize those were 3 F's. Those are just a few of my newly cultivated values, but most of all, I want to make the rest of my life an exciting adventure. And I've learned a hell of a lot in the past 55 and a half years, and I want to help as many women as I can become who they're meant to become and to offer shortcuts to getting there, an experience that I never had. So for me, serving is huge. It's a huge part of the second chapter of life, and I hope that you find it's a huge part of yours. Finding meaning and purpose is coupled with that. So, here's your action step. Grab a journal and some time asking yourself this question. What are 3 things I deeply desire at this stage in my life? Write them down. Then ask, how can I take small steps towards those desires starting this week? I always get you into action because action creates clarity, right? And action creates confidence. So what small steps can you take? And if those things don't come to you right away, it's likely that your mind is fighting with you to keep the norm. Don't. Tell your ego mind to take a seat and allow your creative mind to take center stage and then see, hear, feel, and know what you'd like to do. Maybe there are things that you were too scared to do before, but that you'd really like to do now. I want to jump out of a plane. I can't remember what that's called. Of course, with a parachute. I don't know what that's called. Skydiving. I want to do that. That's a bucket list item. I wanted to get a whole arm sleeve tattoo. I did that at 55. My own rules. I don't care about what people are going to think about that. I'm so happy with it because that's who I am now. The world is your oyster, my dear. Hop to it. After this quick break, I am going to dig into the remaining 2 questions and strategies about how to get clear about the answers. If you're a woman in midlife who feels like midlife is a test of your endurance rather than a celebration of wholeness with amazing opportunities ahead, then I couldn't be more thrilled to invite you to my free live 60-minute training called Midlife Mentality Makeover, where women just like you and me learn how to unlock the secrets to revitalizing your life. This is your chance to really learn how to make significant shifts to how you experience midlife. It's not about getting old. It's about becoming whole. So, in this free live 60-minute training, you'll learn how to shift your mindset, overcome those limiting beliefs, and reignite your passion, and so much more. And during this training, we'll explore practical strategies to help you embrace this beautiful phase of life with confidence, enthusiasm, and joy. So, if you're ready to step into your power and truly transform your midlife experience from something to endure into an amazing and exciting second half of life, head over to janisrcohen.com/MMM and reserve your seat for the Midlife Mentality Makeover live free training. Seats are filling up quickly, so don't wait. I wouldn't. To register for this eye-opening experience that's going to kickstart your newly redefined midlife experience into high gear. That's janisrcohen.com/MMM. janisrcohen.com/MMM. You're listening to the Intuitive Therapist Podcast. Before the break, I was sharing about taking time to identify your new midlife values and what exciting things you'd like to achieve in midlife. Now I want to share a second powerful strategy with you. And the strategy is setting boundaries with courage. This is not fluffy talk, y'all. If you're somebody who has a hard time setting boundaries, then you better listen in, because most women in midlife do. Bring your ear closer to this speaker, lady. Okay, I want you to listen to this. When you begin to rewrite your rules, others around you are going to resist. They're going to use the old version of you, and they may not immediately support the changes you're making. This is where boundaries come in. And it's not selfish to protect your energy or your new direction. This is probably one of the biggest growing pains in women in midlife that they have, evolving and continuing to do so when everyone else around you wants to stay the same, and they want you to stay the same. It's interesting because Spirit's having me talk to you about family systems theory. And family systems theory is all about how you function within your family system, right? And when you change, your family system is either going to question it, pull you back into maintaining your old roles, or they're going to support it. And fulfillment requires more of you. And staying the same goes against growth and fulfillment. You've got to do new things to grow and to get clear sense of who you are. That's how we find out who we are, as we do new things. So the action step is to identify one area where you need to set a boundary, whether it's at work or with family or even with friends. It's likely that you can write a list that's pretty quick, right? So go do that. And you can ask yourself the question in this way: where in my life do I want to feel more respected? Write those out, and this will tell you where your boundaries aren't as strong as they could be, okay? Then think about it clear, and it can be a pretty kind way to communicate that boundary. For example, if somebody says, hey, are you coming to work on that project? And you say, you know what, I'm so sorry. I'm really no longer available to do that. And if you're bold enough, take away the sorry. Just say, you know what, I can't. I'm no longer available for that. Or I need time for myself during the weekends. Or I'd prefer this, but not that. And you might notice that you feel uncomfortable. You do during this growth period. And guess what? That's a great thing. I want you to feel uncomfortable. This is new stuff. This is good stuff. This is growth. So be kind to yourself as you put limits in your life when it comes to how much you serve others. comfort level. You don't always have to. Everybody's going to be just okay if you don't do something, right? What matters is that you're okay with it. Now, strategy number 3 is surrounding yourself with support. And living your truth can feel pretty lonely sometimes if the people around you aren't on the same journey or the same page as you. But here's the good news. There are women out there just like you, craving authentic connection and cheering you on. We often feel alone during midlife. I know there are moments where I have, but you do realize that half of the population is women, and about a quarter of that population is in midlife. We have a big pocket of midlifers. So there are many groups online and in your community that can offer you support. And if there aren't, then go be the rebel. Create one, inviting other women into a sacred space to share their experiences, desires, and challenges and support each other. So seek out communities whether online or in person, where you can find like-minded women. This could be a midlife coaching group, a book club focused on personal growth, or even following empowering midlife women, their voices on social media that inspire you. So the more you surround yourself with others who are living authentically, the more you'll feel empowered to do the same. And then you can pave the way for others to liberate themselves into their own authenticity, right? That's really cool. So we've covered a lot today, and you've asked yourself whose rules you're living by. You've explored what you're afraid of losing and learned 3 powerful strategies to start living your truth, getting clear on what you want, setting boundaries, and surrounding yourself with support. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final important question to take with you. And that is, what would your life look like if you were truly living in alignment with your own rules? And if you ask yourself this question, you would say, what would my life look like if I were truly living in alignment with my own rules? Visualize this. What would change? How would you feel? How would you be speaking? What would you be wearing? What kind of free time would you be having? And what would you be doing during that free time? What new adventures would you be taking? What new things would you be learning about? And most importantly, what's the first step you can take towards making that vision a reality? Write it all down, ladies. And then I want you to take action on one thing a day. Okay? So that's it for today's episode called Midlife Unleashed. Remember, the only person who can write your story is you. And it is never too late to change the plot. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. As always, I'm so grateful y'all listen. Thank you. Thank you for listening. And until next time, y'all keep breaking those rules, living in your truth. And as always, live intuitively. Ladies, if you've been feeling like something's off in your life, like that spark of passion, purpose, and personal power is just out of your reach, you're definitely not alone. Midlife can be overwhelming, filled with changes, challenges, and that pesky identity crisis that leaves you wondering, what's next for me? And who am I now? But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be this way. I've created something special just for you. The 5 sneaky things that are sabotaging you in midlife guide. And yes, it's free. Inside, you'll uncover the 5 real obstacles holding you back and how to identify them in your own life. Plus, you'll get straightforward solutions to start your transformation today. So, what are you waiting for? If you're ready to take back the reins of your life and embrace this powerful phase, head over to janisrcohen.com. That's JANISRCOHEN.com and download your free guide right now. Your future self will be so grateful.